Hello, my name is Aislinn, and my presentation will be about being non-binary in the workplace. I'll be using the article Gender Inequality, Non-Binary Transgender People in the Workplace by Skylar Davidson. It tackles issues on different types of discrimination in the workplace. I will also be using a memoir by San Chang called Token. Chang writes a story of a day in the life of a non-binary person in the workplace. In this presentation, my goal is to give knowledge. What does it mean to be non-binary and be aware of the binary construct all in the workplace? First, we need to understand what is binary. Doing a quick Google search, it defines as binary to be relating, composed of, or involving two things. The binary relies on two boxes. Gender identity of a woman and a man. A woman is related to expression of being feminine and their sex being female. A man is related to being masculine and their sex being male. These checkboxes act as prerequisites of what it means to be a man or a woman. They have to have the right genitals or the right expression. Therefore, it determines someone's gender identity. Instead of seeing it as two boxes, we should be seeing it as a spectrum. It's important to remember one unit does not relate to another. Everything has its own individual section. Now that we establish what is the binary, we need to establish terminology. What does it mean to be non-binary, transgender, or anything else in between? In the article, David explains that gender identity refers to the person's individual self of gender, which can differ from their gender expression. The gender expression can be feminine or masculine. Both or neither. People's gender identity may be a man, a woman, both, or neither. Non-binary is a person that identifies a gender outside of their sex. Non-binary is a person that identifies a gender outside of the woman and man spectrum. In Davidson article, they stated that transgender people who are transitioning, one of the issues is that workplace lacks procedures and assures others how to treat them as they transition, which they can be out of the workplace to avoid harassment. Transgender people who already completed their transition attempting to avoid disclosing their transgender status. I would like to contrast this with Chang's memoir. At the end of the interview, she asked, "How do you react when people make mistakes about your gender?" Since the interview has been kicking myself, I wish I'd have asked what you and this organization going to do to support me when that happens. It doesn't feel appropriate. The question felt how big of a problem you're going to be for us, and how uncomfortable are you going to make us feel? Bathrooms. Bathrooms is a situation as well. In Davidson article, they expressed that bathrooms are a common source of difficulty for transgender people in the workplace. Many reports being refused to access in the bathroom while being verbally or physically attacked. Chang states that in a memoir, workplaces wait until trans or non-binary people gets hired. They scramble to figure out how to make an environment safe and accessible. In my ideal world, workplaces would do the work before trans and non-binary person gets hired. There's always a chance of having employees who do not want to disclose their trans status or identity. So, waiting for the first out or vocal trans person is not an equitable approach. From Davison article, they found that non-binaries who are more out in the workplace are less likely to be unemployed, but more likely to be denied of a promotion, indicating that although employers may be willing to work with a non-binary, some are inclined to discriminate against them to have access to authority. This can be related to hiring a non-binary transgender person for a good image of a company. Chang shares of being a token. They say being a token can be misleading at first. It can make you feel wanted, admired, and special. Who doesn't want to feel that way, especially of a lifetime of not feeling seen or validated? I hear the message, we value your unique perspective, which means you have something we want from you. When you become a token, it's hard not to feel owned by a system that continually pats itself on the back for being so open-minded and progressive, for hiring you while simultaneously putting you in your place. Good intentions say nothing about a system capacity for change. Davison article explains that trans and gender non-conforming people report gender-specific dress codes cause them difficulty because they require them to dress in a manner inconsistent with their identity. People may lose their jobs for disregarding dress code rules. Chang expresses that business casual is highly gendered and will need to decide which drag to wear for work. They say that they would love to put more feminine clothing, but they know as soon as they do, their non-binary identity will be disregarded because there aren't trans enough. The feminine clothes would give people permission to treat them as a woman or feel entitled to use wrong pronouns. Chang expresses that even the people who claim to be accepting, it's still expected that their gender expression must deviate from the norms associated with sex assigned at birth. Davison expresses that business can be inclusive of trans non-binary people by evaluating their methods of recording gender, choosing to record it only when necessary, and including the option to write a response rather than sex. Have paperwork and procedures in place before the trans or non-binary person is in the workplace. So when they feel comfortable disclosing their status, the process is already in place. Doing it last minute can make the coworker feel they weren't expected to be in the space or not thought of. Employers should not think that hiring someone with a unique perspective will make the company look more progressive when it comes to tokenism. While yes, hiring people to promote diversity is a beautiful value, however, it shouldn't be for the sake of looks. Having non-binary and trans people at the authority level can see past their gender identity and trust their work to the point of authority. When it comes to dress code, it's essential to people in the workplace to understand gender expression, meaning masculine or feminine clothing, does not equal gender identity. It's also vital for employers to critically think if the dress code is really inappropriate or not following the white binary culture. Remember, clothing is just a piece of cloth, nothing more. Thank you so much.